She started not wanting to go to school. Her grades started falling. She was starting to withdraw. She had loss of appetite. She was irritable. My daughter never acted like that before. She was always an A student. She was on the honor roll, was admired by her peers. And then when all this started happening, I did take her to a therapist where she was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress syndrome. At that time, she was prescribed medication and saw a psychiatrist. I found out later that she had started using drugs, and it was heroin, IV heroin. Hell, it's probably the best word for it. First it was suicidal tendencies, rehabs, mental health facilities. She's been in 3 mental health facilities, 3 rehabs. We've been through intensive outpatient, general outpatient, never knowing whether she's going to come home from one day to the next because she could have a relapse. It has been very difficult for me because I see my friends with their children and they're going off to college and they're going on with their life, and my daughter is still stuck, and I'm stuck there with her.
Heroin is a issue, I think, in just about every community within the nation. It's affected our community in a number of ways, pretty much through what I would consider to be a quality of life issue, not only for the person that's involved in heroin or using or selling heroin, but also the community at large and in general. The last statistics I have of the heroin incidents or heroin events that the Quakertown Police Department has experienced, whether through investigation, whether through hospital cases, we've had 86 since June of this year. So halfway through the year, we've had 86 cases that would include either heroin arrests for possession, heroin arrests for selling heroin, heroin overdoses, and whether or not those overdoses went to those victims went to the hospital and were saved and revived, or they ultimately ended up in a death. So 86 in a community of 2 square miles in Upper Bucks County from January till June is quite a significant issue.
My name is Jay Utes, and I'm in long-term recovery from heroin and alcohol addiction. I have 26 years of continuous recovery. I was a young guy, I tried it, and from that point on, I became a daily IV user. And I tried many ways to stop, but it always drew me back. I always ended up back with the same people and thinking I could just use just one time, or maybe just this weekend I can use. And of course, there was always the thought of, I'll drink and not do heroin, because I always liked that. If I stayed away from heroin, I'll be all right. And I would drink, and then of course, after I started drinking, it would kick in my addiction, and I would eventually use heroin again. I finally ended up in this rehab, and I went into this lecture on relapse and actually saw myself stopping, getting into recovery, and relapsing. And I was like, wow, that's me. That's what I do. And I actually saw it as a disease. I always looked at the 12-step program as like, oh, I need to go and meet new friends, and I need to, this is going to keep me occupied when I was using. But then I looked at the 12-step program as, this is a program that's going to save my life here. This is a solution out of this. And when I really started doing the program, because I went to the program before, but I never followed any direction. Never got a sponsor, never got a home group, never did the steps. I never took the commitment. And then at the end of my addiction, being where I was, I was like, I don't want to die. And so, the 12-step program looked really good to me, and my family had abandoned me. They wanted nothing to do with me. I had no job, I had no money or anything. And so I really relied on the program as just to help me through. And eventually, practicing the program, the 12-step program that I attended, changed my life.
What we see happens a lot is there's a direct connection from prescription drugs, and it's a direct link right to heroin. Most police departments have the drug take-back program. Here in Quakertown Borough, we have the drug take-back vault right in the lobby of our borough hall. It's a secure facility. People can come in, they put in it's secure, and all of those take-back drugs go to the DEA and are destroyed. So the more drugs, the more prescription drugs that we take off the street, so to speak, out of people's medicine cabinets, and they're not available for misuse or abuse, the possibility is that that link will not exist to begin with, and therefore, hopefully, the direct correlation to the use of heroin comes down.
I think parents today, first of all, need to know that it's not just the urban areas where heroin has infiltrated. It is also in the suburbs, and probably more so than anyone would like to realize.
It's in upper socioeconomic communities. It's in cities, it's in boroughs, it's in townships. So identifying the problem, understanding that the problem exists is a key component to it.
We don't want that to happen to anybody else. You don't want that to happen to your child.
As a community, we can make this better. We can beat this. We can win the fight. And to those out there that have family members that are addicted or are certainly suffering from heroin addiction, you're not alone, and you need to understand that, and you need to reach out to the resources that are available to you.
You do have people out there to support you, but you feel like you are going through something by yourself for a long time. You just need to search and find the right place where you can find companionship and understanding. Sometimes it can be family meetings at the intensive outpatient programs. There are a lot of people out there that are going through it.
Some kind of support where it be with other people that understands what they're going through.
I certainly suggest you can start with the police department, but you can start with your church, you can start with your neighbor, you can start with, there's a number of social agencies. The hotline itself, if you don't know who to turn to or where to turn to, it's not necessarily just to report a drug activity. It could be that you or your family needs help. It's going to take a community to win this war and to fight this battle. And I encourage everybody to get involved as a community. Law enforcement can't do this alone. You need to become a partner with law enforcement, and we'll win this. We will.